Welcome to the Football 360 show, your fastest hour of football talk on the planet. I am JP Rock. He is Matt Bierman with you on a Tuesday. Technical difficulties out of the way now. I am on location again still. Matt Bierman's playing Hurts. He's got
Yeah, I'm better. I'm better. I feel better.
you feel better?
I
I
feel
know
better.
when I saw you on Sunday, first thing you said is you gave me what you had.
Yeah, well, I think 2 weeks ago, I think we talked about that. That was
You were the
not
test
great.
subject.
Yeah,
No, right.
yeah, yeah. We guys got stuck in the room here with you and then got it. But no, man, there are so many kids out sick right
Uh,
now. It's
it's outrageous. Yeah.
that time of year, and then we get the weather changing. So we'll do the best we can.
We absolutely will. I'll tell you what, a lot of people are sick, and that's a shame. But still, a lot of kids are still coming and working out, training at
Yeah,
elite, getting ready for the combines. You had the middle school combine on President's Day on the 17th, which was a huge success. And I've already knocked out one report on it. And man, I'm actually just going through all the data on it and going through my video and stuff like that. Those young guys are talented.
that's a good, really good group. That eighth and seventh grade, it's fifth and sixth, obviously really good young guys.
Yeah,
But when they start to get in seventh and eighth grade, you can start to kind of tell who's who, right? Like,
right,
obviously, size becomes a huge factor as they get older, and
correct.
some kids are much bigger than others, and you don't know what that growth pace will be and all that stuff. But the underlying athleticism is really what you're looking for. And
Right.
when you see those guys that are athletic and have tons of abilities to do things that the older guys can do, it's really cool to see, and you just think the future is gonna be really bright for a lot of those guys.
It really is, and even like there was a really talented sixth grade running back named
Yes,
Caleb Griffin, who just was
Gabe Griffin, right? Was it
Gabe Griffin. Yeah, yeah.
Gabe
What did I
Griffin?
say? Gabe
Yep,
Griffin, who was putting up numbers that some of the eighth grade guys would have liked to put up.
correct.
And so you go that you had some same thing with some seventh graders,
Yep,
who were putting up good numbers. I mean, you had a bunch of guys who ran a sub 5 laser 40
yep,
in eighth and seventh grade, with the best one being a 4.78, which is moving
right.
right for a middle school player.
Wait, I think he weighed 170 pounds too.
178
So
pounds.
178. Okay, yeah,
So yeah, so I have that my data
yeah,
all that data is in my head.
yeah, right. And
Um,
then those are numbers that obviously and then so you have a guy like that. So then you say, okay, well, he's kind of starting to hit those numbers already in middle school. uh, what does he need to do? Well, he needs to be as skilled as possible, right? Because now that's the next, he's got the athletic side of it. And, he's going to have to play the right position that's going to, draw people to him and then be able to put all that stuff together on the field and then get on the field probably as early as he possibly can.
yep. Yeah, absolutely. And it also has to be open to playing multiple positions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're that kind of an athlete with that size as an eighth grader, you're talking about a 6 foot, 178 pound eighth grader, right? I mean, how much is he going to grow? How much is he going to continue to grow? What can he play? What do coaches see? And I see it all the time. I know on Sunday at Elite was talking to a couple of kids and expressing to them my opinion, what they probably or possibly could be in the future. And of course, they all make the face, and they're all quick to tell you what they are. And I
Yeah.
know you deal with that a lot.
Oh, a lot. And here's the thing. I'm not in the business of telling you what you can't do,
Right.
but I also am in the business of telling you what I think you can be, right? And I know
To the
you are
best of your
too,
ability. Yeah, yeah.
right? Like I'm like, hey, look, this kind of trend. So let's just say you're a kid who is 6 foot 178 in middle school and eighth grade. Gonna be a freshman next year, and then this time next year you're 6'4", 220,
Correct.
210.
Right.
Or say you stay 6 foot 170. You don't you gain some weight, but you don't gain any height. That's a different story. But say you gain 2 to 3 inches, 4 inches in height over the next year and a half, 2 years. Now that guy that was thinking, I'm playing receiver and
Defensive back.
defensive
Yeah.
back, safety. Now I'm a linebacker or a rush end.
Edge, right,
Yeah,
right.
and then the problem is if you go to edge, 220 isn't really big enough. Then you have to start gaining, slowly but surely gaining weight. And then the challenge is, do you keep that speed, right?
Yep.
As you gain that weight. And I think that's one of the challenges that a lot of kids face.
Oh, it's a huge challenge that kids face, and that's why it's something like what I do. You start in the middle school, and you have to keep checking on them all year. And you see these guys who pop up all the time. The list is long of guys who pop up, and like the fan sites will be like, "Oh, this guy's a 4-star, and he might get an offer." And we'll discuss offers, but we all know what offers are worth when you're in 8th or 9th or 10th grade.
Nothing.
Right. And so, what's their trajectory? Are they going to continue to go up, or are they going to peak? And when you're, say you're 6 foot, 200 pounds in 8th grade, what are you going to be? Or have you matured to that level? Are you done growing? And that's something that I know you talk about.
Yeah. Because you don't know, like, especially like look at the guys that are throwers, like the QBs, like those guys, when you see a smaller guy that can throw similar to the bigger guys, and that guy's got a little bit of size to go in him, then whose ceiling's higher, right? Probably the smaller guy who's still got some growth.
I see it all the time.
Right? It happens constantly.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why they've allowed some shorter quarterbacks to get in, because, they do know that, like, hey, at the end of the day, if you can move and throw and execute, like, at the end 2 inches in height is not going to let you see. If you're 6'2" versus 6 foot, looking over a guy that's 6'7" or 6'8", the vantage point, you're still shorter than they are, right? I mean, I always kind of struggle with that one. Like, well, the 6'2" guy can see better than the 6 foot guy. The 6'4" guy can see better than the 6'2" guy. It's not a wall. It's more of a,
right.
Right. I mean,
stuff's moving.
Stuff moves. There's lanes, right? You're able to move. And, Russell Wilson's not the tallest guy. Drew Brees aren't the tallest guy. And I think they navigated fairly well throughout their career.
And that's really a skill that quarterbacks have to have. Yeah. Some of it's natural and some of it you teach, right?
Oh, yeah. You have to, if you watch how we train on the weekends, I think one of our competitive advantages for our quarterbacks and our linemen is that we have live pass rushes with live quarterbacks. And you'll see a lot of places where they do live rushes and they have either a coach standing back there or they put a bag, which I am not a big fan of the bag because someone get rolled up on. Yep. But when you have a coach back there, it's just not realistic. But you have a quarterback that's moving. It helps the quarterback obviously understand how to move in the pocket, how to work with their linemen, how to not get their linemen beat. Because a lot of times, truth be told, the quarterback is the person who is responsible for the sack because they move too early. They move early. They move the wrong way. They move with the motion that's coming towards them versus away from it. But you can train that and teach that. And I think you have to understand that is a huge part of the game. And if you're, just going and throwing routes and doing drills, simulating moving, there's nothing that simulates better than a human being chasing. On Sunday, I walked by a kid and I made a comment about one of his pass rushes. I think Nick, one of our other coaches, was working that group, but I just was walking by and I made a comment about his movement, and Nick was already getting ready to say something to him, and the guy looks at me, he goes, "That guy's like 6'5". He was going to kill me." And that's the thing is, even though we're not tackling in there, the perception is of the brain that, hey, I'm under duress, I'm being stressed. And so it is a real game-like environment. So the brain is starting to tune into like, hey, that would have been a big hit. Mom might have been asking Dad why we let Johnny play football after that hit, right? Versus
you don't want to see Mom coming out of the stands.
Or versus Mom cheering because you just made a big play, you stepped up and threw the ball down the field. So it is a skill set. It can be taught. And you know what? When all hell breaks loose and everything's done, and although you've exhausted those opportunities to move and throw cleanly in the pocket, then your God-given abilities to move and run need to kick in, and I think that's where the analytics of guys, like what their speed is and how fast they run, how fast they accelerate, what their top speeds are, all that stuff that, you know, that you're seeing now in the NFL is kind of trickling its way down to our level at the high school and college level. And I think, you know, you can't cheat the system. Either you move efficiently or you don't. Either you're athletic enough to make those moves in the line, on the line, or rushing, or to be the quarterback to move. But yeah, it's such a cool thing to see when you teach them how to do it and move correctly, because the instinct, I can tell you from doing this a long time, the instinct of most kids playing quarterback, if left to their own devices, is not great. It is very, very fight or flight. You know, let me just get the higher ground. Right. And oftentimes they get the higher ground, and it's not good. It's not good, and it's not good for the play, if you will.
Right. And no, you're absolutely right. And that's one of the great things about the drills, because like when I'm watching the drills, I'm watching the offensive lineman, I'm watching the defensive lineman, but I'm also watching the quarterback, and does he complete the play? Right? How does he move? Does he still hit the target? Because they have a target that they have to hit.
Yeah, they still throw.
They still throw. And the guys who are proficient in being able to do that are you know, those are guys.
Yes. And it's pretty easy to see the guys, because you'll see guys bury. We have a big net that's behind our targets. You'll see guys burying balls up on almost near the ceiling because they're just getting rid of it, which we would call like an adrenaline throw, because they're just like, oh crap, just get rid of it. Versus the guys who are actually, you know, dialed in and still able to make a move and throw it very well. And you know, a kid that is really good at that is and he's super athletic, is Nick McClellan. If you watch when that drill, he's really good at it, and he comes up with some really good throws just because he's athletic, but he's quarterbacking. He's not just being, you know, an athlete. He's actually getting himself in an athletic position to make the throw.
I got to tell you what. No, go ahead.
He's just a kid that's fun to watch in that drill, because he can kind of hold his position as long as he can, move, and then make the throw.
He's a kid who's fun to watch because he has really transformed himself into a quarterback. I know you and I remember the state championship game where he was, you know, pressed into playing quarterback against Liberty North and took a beating, right? Let's be honest. He took a beating in that one. And he, coming in, working, training with you guys, has made himself into a quarterback to the point to where he does have some schools, the military academies primarily, looking at him as a quarterback because of exactly what you said. You know, that athletic ability, and he has enough. He's, you know, improved his skill set by working at it, by building it to the point to where they're like, hey, yeah, we can see this guy in our system playing quarterback.
And you think of that strategy too, from his perspective, it's probably not the most normal going on right now, because you have everybody so siloed to, hey, this guy's a quarterback, this guy's a running back, this guy's a receiver. And I know that there's been some consternation about, like, hey, he's gotten offers at safety, right? But he's not playing as much safety because you don't want to take your starting quarterback and play him at safety, especially his junior year when he's trying to get the position, you know, kind of learned and fully immersed in it. And it's, you know, in the way they run their offense, it's very quarterback centric. So you better be tied into it.
Right.
And so, but I do think it's probably going to end up boding well for him, because he,
without a doubt,
is a guy that he's an athlete, right? So like they can recruit him and say, hey, look, he's a quarterback. We get him here and say it works perfectly in our system, and it times out that we need. He's going to be mature and ready to go. Great. Let's just keep him in that, you know, quarterback rung. If not, we know we can move him over to safety, and he can play defensive back to, you know, and at a high level. And so I think, you know, going into that scenario, like, it's probably doesn't seem optimal, but for a lot of teams that are trying to get more value, he's going to be able to provide some value, that where some guys are like, hey, this guy's a quarterback, but he's only going to play quarterback. Right. And so I don't know. I think
versatility equals value.
Right. It should.
Yeah, it should. And that's why I always tell, like, linemen, you know, offensive linemen, if they're not the biggest, they're not the strongest, I go, do you long snap, right? Do you, you know, do that? That's a great skill to add to your repertoire of what you're doing. a guy like Nick could play quarterback. He could play safety. He could play corner.
Yep.
I mean, we've both seen him play corner in 7-on-7 and in different situations. He could play wide receiver. He has that kind of value to him.
And he's coachable.
And he's
so that's the
extremely
thing,
coachable.
he's very, yeah. So speaking of snappers, we have not talked too much about Lance Allerton at Fort Zumwalt West. He is, and the snappers don't get a ton of love, right?
No.
And because they do, their recruiting is a little different because they do snapping events, and the kickers and snappers and punters do some things a little differently, and they have like rating events for like how well you snap the ball and how efficient you are. But he is the top 2026 snapper in the country, and he's not the biggest guy, but he's not small. He's going to grow. Right. He's going to keep getting bigger and stronger. We've had other guys that he is definitely bigger than coming out of snap at the Division I level, and his ability to snap the football is world class. I mean, he is putting down NFL snap times. But what I'll say is he's also a guy, and it's just like the top quarterbacks, linemen, receivers, linebackers. He's always training. They're always at the facility snapping. They're always in there getting work. They're working with their coach. And when they're not with their coach, Coach Pio, who does the long snapping with them, he is in there snapping with his dad. They have a target system that they use, but it is impressive. I will tell you, I sit there and watch. He put a film out the other day. I think it was just like where it was continuous snaps. And just the film was running, and I'll tell our quarterbacks like, "Hey, watch this! Like, watch them snap." And it's impressive. I mean, it is true, but it's an art form because guess what? You got to know what you're doing. You got to be confident. But there's this sense of, basically, they have this ritual, if you will, like the best ones do.
Yeah.
There's some kids that can snap the ball that are just fine on every team that just kind of peter it back there. But when his comes off, it's
like a bullet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's a bullet. And if you walk by, you get your leg taken off by him. I mean, it's crazy.
It really is. And I mean, and it can take you a long way. And that's why I tell, linemen, linebackers, anybody who wants to play, continue to play at a higher level, because you look in the NFL, even their long snappers aren't the biggest guys. No. Right? Because it is an art form, like you say, and it is so important. Think about it. Think about the importance of how every single play in the NFL counts, right? And every single play in college counts too. So, special teams is part of the game. And I know, like you said, they don't get a lot of love. Kickers don't get a lot of love until the time comes where you need them to come through for you.
Correct. And you know what? I was pulling his film up here. I was going to send it to Joe. See if he can get it up there. But it's one of those things that when you watch him snap, you say, well, this guy clearly has spent an inordinate amount of time doing this, right? Whereas most people just do this in passing, right? I also snap.
It's added on,
that doesn't work, right? That does not work. And we'll see if I can get it on here, but it's not. If you can get it, Joe, great. If not, then don't worry. But
so then tell me about it, because it's not something that's really not spoken about. But you do have a dedicated coach for.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, Luke Pio. Oddly enough, so Lance is the #1 snapper in the country, rated by Coles, and this is all done by like charting. They chart their snaps and the time and accuracy.
Yeah,
and they have competitions. I mean, it's pretty intense. There's like hundreds of kids there doing it. And he's consistent, but he's been consistently beating kids over the years that are older than him. And now it's his turn because he's a 2026. But so he does it. And oddly enough, Luke Pio, who coaches him, is a guy who a couple years ago we had another Zumwalt West kid, Brady Weeks, who went to Minnesota. And then Zach Hirth was a Under Armour All-American who did a great job, snapping at Coles, and then he got selected to they're going to put it up here so you can watch it. But he got selected to the Army All-American or Under Armour All-American, whatever it was. But yeah, just watch. These snaps are, it's very impressive. I mean, just on fire. And it's one of those things that, quite honestly, little sound on there.
Oh yeah. See, it's like a bullet.
Yeah, it's just snap after snap. But
I mean, think about that. Think about how impressive that is. You don't see a lot of guys who can spin a ball like that, right?
And it's industry time. Yeah, I mean, look, look every single time that ball ends up in the same spot.
Same spot. Yep.
And here's the thing, you know, parents nowadays get a bad rap for being, too involved.
Mm-hmm.
If his dad's not doing this with him and coming in and putting the work in with him, he's not who he is.
Right.
Right. And so there's a difference between being supportive and making sure you're doing the right things and you're putting them in the right situations. But you just watch. This is a couple minutes of him just snap after snap, and it's like a machine.
It's not the same clip.
No. This is
it looks. You're absolutely right.
Like the same. It's a machine.
Exactly the
same. You can see the people walking around the background.
Right,
right. Yeah, so they came. This is just so you know, this was like 8:00 on a Friday night. So the building's starting to wind down. There's kids kind of coming in, some guys doing some stuff, but like it's a Friday night. It's cold as could be outside. They're in there at 8:30, getting their snaps in.
That's great. And
that's the stuff. If I'm a college coach, that's the guy I'm like, oh, damn. He's not putting this stuff out there just to brag. It's just, this is just who he is. This is what he does. This is what you're going to get when you bring him into your program.
Right.
Right.
No. Yep. He has that drive.
Yeah.
And that discipline that you want on your team.
And he's specialized. He's got a skill that most human beings do not have. So if your skill is pass setting, great.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be also run block. If I was talking to my son about this last night. So, I work 7 days a week training. He shows up to do various things at the building throughout the week. We're driving home last night, and so he had lifted weights. I think he had a lifting session. So I was training. So I'm giving him, we're going home. He's riding home with me, and I said, so he said something about he's a little sore or something to that effect. I was asking him how school was for the day and all that. He said, I'm a little sore. His non-throwing shoulder was a little sore from the workout. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, so he had told me again, because I'm kind of out of the loop when he gets home from school. It was a nice day. So him and two buddies from school, a kid a year older than him and one guy in his grade, went and threw at a field. Right, just found a field that was open, a high school field, and then they got ran off by the lacrosse team. Yeah. And the guy actually, he said the coach walked up to him, was really nice. He's like, "Hey, you guys go to school here?" And he's like, "No, sir. We go to a rival school down the street." And the guy's like, "Hey, I respect that." But my point is, for you to bring that up, you have to do stuff like that on your own. Like, I'm not involved in that. Like, I didn't set that up. I don't like those are things. And you know what? It doesn't always get filmed, but like stuff like what Lance filmed there, that's really good to film because that shows coaches what they're getting when they get you. And then you have someone like yourself and myself putting some context to it. Like, hey, that's 8 or 8:30 on a Friday night when he could be out doing a whole other host of things. And he's in there spinning the ball like that. So, shout out to Lance and his dad because they've done a great job. There just could not be nicer people. And I know the special teams guys feel like they sometimes get the short end of the stick. But to your point, they're as important as it comes. It is an important – you name a game where kicking does not matter. It comes down to it. In the NFL, every weekend it comes down to it.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I think it's a really intriguing when you see guys that are mastering a skill set at a level that's proficient of like proficiency level as a pro when they're in high school. And you go to a high school game and it doesn't even look out of the norm because it's so clean, right? But then you take a huge step back and you look at the other teams doing it, you're like, oh wow, that's good. So, but yeah, I think the special teams guys. I mean, obviously at Lindenwood they have special teams. They have a whole a time dedicated to it.
Oh yeah.
So because it's important.
And you get guys from all over the country coming in and trying to catch the attention of some college coaches.
Yeah, for
Who
sure.
are doing that. So now the elite combine's coming up March 8th, just 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks. But special teams, is that, I know in the past there's been like one or two guys.
Just the time in there, we don't have enough room to do it because of the time we have. But David Brader does all the punting and kicking
Right.
with the elite special teams. So he'll run that at Lindenwood. But yeah, I think he's got some. They will do it at the St. Louis Metro Football Coaches Association when we're outside on, I think it's May 12th at the Smet, that Monday, May 12th.
Okay.
So yeah, that'll be outside this year. And he does a great job with that.
I'm telling you what, it's coming up fast. It's hard to believe that we're already looking at the elite combine March the 8th, but it really is the kickoff. And I know now that it's getting close, a lot of players and coaches are wanting to get their guys in there, right? Because they understand the importance of it, how it's really kicking off the important camp season, because you have the elite combine. And then after that, you have the KC varsity combines that are coming up, which, I tweeted out earlier today about how 2 kids from the elite combine, 2 of the top performers, win free entry to the KC varsity combine coming up. And of course, there's one in St. Louis, March the 3rd. And then the other 2 are in Kansas City at St. Pius the week before and the week after that. And then, of course, then you have Lindenwood. So, I mean, if you want to play college football, you got to get to those. And really, there are other ones that pop up, and they're the pop-up ones we've talked about before. I don't know what they do for you except take your money, and usually it's a lot of money.
And so, like, here's the thing. You have, like, some of the big dogs, like the national ones that, like, say it's when you're seniors and you're select a rising senior, right. Well, like the the UC Report or one of those where the Under Armour Next, that one is a quality. If you're going to that, you've been pre-screened. But guess what?
Swag,
and 9 times out of 10, it's because you've done this stuff when you were younger and you've got a name now and you're getting offers. Like, there's not a lot of guys that don't have offers getting invited to those camps because.
You're right.
The junior senior guy, rising senior.
And there's some younger, and I got to tell you what, and I know because you get tagged just like I get tagged on social media, and these guys all want to, put out there that they got the invite. I'm looking at these invites. Everybody's excited. They're going to that. Guess what? Majority of these guys, they've all come through the elite combine.
Right, because at some point
when they were younger. Yeah.
And this is the important thing when you say, well, why do I need to do a combine, right? And we hear it from all people. Well, you don't need to do a combine. I'll just get your test scores out to people.
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing about doing a combine, especially if there's 100 to 200 people there, and we have a database of thousands of kids tested on the same equipment, right? On the same field, same location, between Lindenwood and Lou Fuse at Rams Park. And we have literally a database that says, hey, this information stands true over time, right? So these guys, this Ryan Wingo ran this guy ran this. The stuff is it's not rocket science, but if you have quality scores that can be trusted versus someone going, hey, I ran a 4.5, and we hear this all the time, and it's on a track.
Yeah.
That's different than running on turf, right? And spikes. So out of a 3-point stance, not a 2-point stance. There's a lot of differences that go on in that. And so I think when you put yourself in a scenario, just like the middle school guys did, you start looking at those top 10 results. So like we color code just the top 10 guys in each category are roughly there because there's some ties with scores that match. JP, 9 times out of 10, the broad jump and vertical leap match right along with the 40, right?
Yep.
They do. Pro agility is a little different
because it's a different animal.
It's so technique sound. and some guys are like a lower to the earth guy, like a 4'9", 5'3" guy that's a little more fluid, is going to be really good at that test versus the guy that's a little longer and lankier. That's more straight line. The straight line guys aren't great at that, right? And typically, but yeah, I think the reason why you want to do it is so you can get your updated height, your updated weight. You can start to get where your scores are at. Obviously, you can scratch it if you don't want them to
and
get
your
released.
Scores are verified, which is what college coaches want. They want verified numbers by an independent source.
Right. And so, and it's also nice when the independent source is there testing lots of other kids, right? Because it's, verified. Oh, hey, I ran it with my track guy. I ran it with my speed coach.
That's not verified.
That's not verified.
That's
not what it means when it says verified on your profile. So
exactly.
So yeah, I think there's lots of things that kids get distracted by, but the way that this works is you have your season ends, you start to work and prepare, and then you get into your combine season, and then you'll get those done by middle of May, and then you're rolling right into the summer camp season, which is condensed this year. Basically, first 3 weeks of June is where the majority of the camps are going to be, which is very challenging because high schools have their practices going as well. So it's got to be really interesting how you negotiate that with your head coach, right, and your staff.
Oh yeah. I'm already hearing from kids, because they've got you also have to throw in like the team camps that are coming up.
Oh yeah.
Right. And and some of the team camps fall on the same dates of the college camps. So, will your head coach let you do that? That's another reason why it's important. You get out, you get at an elite, right? And you don't want to show up to Lindenwood or any college camp without having done anything. Right?
Correct.
So you want to show up at elite, perfect timing, you're ready, you're recovered from your off season, hopefully. You're ready to go. It shows you where you're at, what you still need to work on. What do you want to, where do you want to play, where you're going to be able to do it. And then you a couple months later, you've got KC varsity, same thing, right before you hit camp season. And guess what? May 3rd in St. Louis, guess who's going to be there at the KC varsity? You and the elite guys, along with Wayne Orr and his guys. It's partnering up.
Guys,
right?
And you know what? So we help run Lindenwood, and if I'm not mistaken, they help run the William Jewell one over in Kansas City. So another mega camp. So, say what you want, and right, you can go to the ones that pop in and out of town, and
ones that pop in town, people are going to write blurbs about you, whatever.
Yeah, right. And the problem is who follows them. And I always tell people, like, again, I'm not like the huge social media guru or any of that stuff. I can tell you, if you look at the coaches that follow you and then follow our elite football page on Twitter, there's head coaches, right, that follow. There's assistant coaches that follow. And if somebody tells you like they're the guy and they're this and that, see who follows them and who is perusing their site, because people have notifications turned on. I know they do because I tweet stuff. They'll say stuff back like, "Hey, can you give me more information on this guy?" Right. Stuff like that. They do it to you all the time. So
there's entire recruiting staffs that follow us.
Correct. And so, you just got to know going into this that, like, again, anybody tells you they're going to get you an offer, they're lying to you, unless they're on a staff. And typically, if they're not the head coach, they still may be lying to you. Because the head coach has final say. And, I had a conversation with the guy yesterday. The college will remain nameless. The kid will remain nameless, but this is educational for people. A new coach showed up at the high school and said, "Hey, did we offer you?" Right? And the kid's like, "Yeah, we did. So coach so-and-so offered me." Yeah, he's no longer with us. He's at a new school. He offered a lot of kids in the metro area. We're trying to figure out who's who and who we actually want out of that group. Right. And so that's the tough thing, is because, like, when someone offers like that and then they change jobs, it may be beneficial to you because wherever he went, he may end up helping you at his new school, but that door might close because you were his guy and he's gone.
Yeah.
And so that's realistic. That happens. And so that's why you cannot poo-poo, you cannot push away any school or any offer. You can't do it. It's bad business.
It is bad business, and it is a business, and you need to treat it as such because they're treating it as such. Just like you said, that coach comes in, it's like, hey, did we offer you? And we talked earlier about, well, just if they offer you, when you're, if they offer you even heading into your senior year, is it a good offer? Is it a committable offer or not? You really don't know, So you have to, you have to go in, kind of with a cocked eye on it. Okay, maybe, maybe not. You will find out eventually. Because you do realize that's just like junior days. A lot of junior days are coming up now. This is the junior day season. And we always have guys ask us about junior day. And a lot of them are just meet and greets.
Right.
There are certain guys who they're going up there, they're going to get an offer, or the staff will allude to going to give you an offer.
Right.
A lot of other times, if you want to see a basketball game, hey, great. If you want to just get some free food or whatever, or just, sometimes, unfortunately, you don't even meet the head coach at some junior day.
So I have a question for you. I think I know the answer.
Okay.
So say we have the elite combine coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have that. So there's that combine's March 8th. And then you have a 7-on-7 tournament that same weekend, or you have a junior day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And say the junior day, let's just go with that one first. You have not had very much communication with, say, Mizzou, but you're on a list. Do you go to something that's going to help you, go there and maybe get something out of it? What are the odds of you getting an offer on a junior day if they've not communicated with you much in advance?
0.
0.0.
Unless you walk in and you're Reggie White.
You're right. And then maybe you've grown a bunch and they didn't know that, right? But the end of the day is I would view it as you're better off getting, and say it wasn't the elite combine, say this is in Idaho and there's a similar combine that's in Idaho or California.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the one that you can then do what? The one that is going to get you most bandwidth, is going to expand your bandwidth and give you more reach to other people, right? One school is not enough, right? You can only go to one school, but one school in recruiting is not enough because that can fall through very quickly. It can fall through in a heartbeat, with a coaching change, with a some sort of staff upheaval, roster rationalization that they're going through right now with the Division I teams and how many scholarships they're going to offer, who's a walk-on, what's a walk-on. Now we have to do 105 scholarships. Now we can do 85 scholarships. That is the issue that's going on as we speak, right? So things are changing. And so I think you're better to have more options than not any options at all, right? One option is like the only leverage you would have to get a Mizzou offer is if you have other offers similar to that, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. One offer is really all you need. Charles Harris got his one offer from Mizzou last weekend before signing day, and that seemed to work out pretty well for him.
Yeah. Right.
But back to your initial point, you're absolutely right. If you're not having contact with the staff, or your coach isn't having contact with the staff, and they're letting him know how they feel about you, then an offer is possible. They just want you to come up and offer you in person or whatever. Or if you're one of the top guys, you have a bunch of offers, you can go in there. They might want to get a look at you. If you don't have any of that, or you're just a guy who wants to go hang out with your buddy who's going, you're much better off going to the event that's going to do something for you, make you better as a football player, help you, find out where you're at, what you need to work at, how you compete and compare with the other top talent who's going to be at it.
Because that junior day is not an evaluation event, right? They're
not at all.
It's a publicity. It's a kick the tires, kind of show you what they can do, meet and greet.
They
But
might
then you
evaluate your hand
realize,
size or your
yeah,
height, but
height
that's
and
it.
weight, yeah. And
Yep.
so the one thing too is it really interesting with that is that you do understand too when you go to those, and you'll figure it out fast. There's different levels to those days. To game day visits, there's different levels to junior days. There's different levels to any sort of on-campus visit.
Yeah.
There's the experience visits, which is the hey guys, here's our facilities. This is what we got. They kind of take you around and show you, make you feel pretty good. There's that next level where it's kind of lukewarm, but you're going to have some communication with some coaches, kind of glad handing you and talking to you.
Mhm.
And then you realize there's another one where they're on the third level and everybody's up there meeting with the head coach,
Yeah.
right? And position coaches. And they're talking about offers and they're talking about what you can do for them and they can do for you and all of that stuff, right? So all of those issues like could be easily avoided if you ask questions to people that can help you, right?
Mhm.
And your versus doing what you think is going to look best on your social media, right? And I think
Right.
yeah, that's the tough thing for kids because in their mind, hey, I got a bag, a lanyard I can hook on my bag
Right.
that makes people think I'm getting recruited by Mizzou.
Yep.
Where I mean, just go online, go to Amazon, you can buy them all day long. You can get every college you want and stick it on your bag. But if you don't play well and you don't match what they need, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So you're only lying to yourself. And so I just think that's a big issue because then it's like, okay, do you go to 7-on-7 and over going to an event that can help you get recruited by schools? And the sad truth is 7-on-7 events cannot be attended by college coaches. And so
Right.
there will be scouting guys at some events. There'll be some guys, and you've been to them.
Oh yeah. I go to a bunch.
It's not the easiest thing to view because you can see good players, but it's not because they're spread out usually, and there's a lot of stuff going on at the same time, right? And so figuring out who's who and what's what is not always the easiest, and it's definitely a different game than what the high schools play, right? And so it shows who can throw a ball, it shows who can catch a ball, it shows who can defend. But if there's no way to disseminate that information other than the film, and 7-on-7 film, I've yet to see it shot in a light that looked really good, right? Like it's just hard. It's just hard because the fields are usually it's just hard to do. The angles aren't as good. You're usually lower at field level. It's not traditional from up in the press box. It's just different because it's hard to do.
And you have some guys who look great playing 7-on-7 football, and that doesn't translate to the actual game. And
yes.
And if you have some guys who are just killers on the actual football field in the game, and that they for whatever reason that doesn't translate to 7-on-7. It's a different
I will
animal.
tell you, I have very rarely seen kids that are the best at 7-on-7 QB that are the best at tackle football, 11v11. I don't know exactly what that is. It is traditional tackle football is more because of the run and how defenses align.
Mm-hmm.
The reads are different. It's a more traditional reading concept than 7-on-7 is a lot of scanning.
Yeah.
And you're scanning for stuff that flashes open because you got 4 seconds. In a tackle football game, you got 2 to 2.5, maybe 3 max. And your decisions have to be based on leverage, based on what moves and how fast it moves and where it moves and what you have going into that area.
Right. And that's a good point. Like for somebody like me, when I look at 7-on-7, as you said before, I get to see how players move. I get to see their speed. It's nice that they make some plays or whatever, but it's really just an evaluation of their athleticism, their movement, their speed, some of their skill set, but you're not going to learn everything or even a ton from just going to all 7-on-7 stuff.
Right. But yeah, but here's the deal. If you don't have anything going that weekend, go do your 7-on-7. But if you're doing a combine is going to benefit you from a recruiting perspective because your information is going to be actually disseminated out to colleges. And I think that makes a big difference, makes a huge difference.
Yeah. It does, and I'm telling you what, there's so many 7-on-7 tournaments every weekend now since the beginning of January that it's real. People lose track. It's easy to lose track.
It's beyond saturated.
Yes, yes, and you're seeing more and more pop up, and it's I mean it's it's like, what do you pay attention to? What do you not?
Well, I could tell you by and large, my friends that coach college football are almost woefully unaware of what's going on with it. Like,
without
they don't
question.
like people get really upset and when they want to or want to brag about wins and this and losses and 7-on-7 and like we're associated with Midwest Boom. It's the winningest 7v7 club in the country, right?
Yep.
And it's been around a long time. But I think if you talk to JR, who runs it, who's also a JUCO college coach, it's all about the development, and it's all about what they're doing to get their guys to the process to win and process of getting a win individually as athletes for themselves to go play college football. And I think, when you have people that are super teaming it or trying to do as best they can or playing guys that they shouldn't be playing in these tournaments, like who's benefiting, right? The adult or the kids? And to me, it always goes back to the kids. It has to be a win for the kids. Like myself, I am not defined by wins and losses in 7v7 or any wins and losses other than what our athletes do and how well they do once they get to college. It's one thing to get to college and help them get there. It's another thing to have longevity. And I was telling someone the other day, like, that's when as a coach what you do works, right? Like, I can look back on a ton of kids that have come through our program. Yes, some kids have had unfortunate situations when they get to college, they get hurt or situations change in their life or whatever it might happen, or they got into a bad situation with the program they're in, there's coaching, whatever it might be. But by and large, the number of guys that have done extremely well when they've gotten to college, right? And I think that's something that's overlooked right now is so many in the past, JP, a kid could get to college and someone could have sold them and said, hey, look, this is the guy. And then someone buys off and says, okay, yeah, they bring him in and they realize real quickly, like, this guy, we got sold a guy that does not belong at our level, right?
Right. Yep.
Whether that's because he stopped working, whether that's because he wasn't athletic enough, he didn't compete at a high enough level in high school, a host of reasons. In the past, that could be swept under the rug, okay, to a certain degree. Now, with the roster limits being shrunk, you can't sweep it under the rug.
Right.
2, they'll just cut you. Like, that guy used to be able to hang around.
Yeah.
Like, that guy used to hang around.
It was rare. I mean, they would run you off on occasion, but that was rare, right? Because you got the reputation of you run guys off. Guys, word gets out, players don't want to go there because, but you're absolutely right. There are guys who hung around for 5 years, right? Just part of it. And you're like, I didn't even know they were still on the team because that was a recruiting mistake.
Interesting story. I had a guy, Division I Power 4 guy, years ago. We were coaching one of his kids, and he was training with us, and this guy was committed to his program.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, he's kind of a reach for us, to be honest with you, because he probably won't play till he's a junior, if not a senior, if he sticks it out. Yep. But he's going to be a guy that's probably going to play a little special teams, and he's going to get a good education here at a really good school. And somebody got to this kid and was like, man, I don't think they're doing you right. You got to go somewhere else. You should have bigger offers. And mind you, this was like a Big Ten offer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The kid ends up bouncing out, but he decommits. And then, once he did that, probably thinking he could still go back there, he didn't realize that he was a reach guy for them. Okay. So somebody protected him and got him in there. Okay. Yep. And he was a good guy, good kid, good program kid. And those rosters were bigger. I mean, scholarship numbers were still the same, but you could hide him a little bit easier.
Yep.
He ended up, I don't know the number of schools, but I think ended up at 5 different schools because nobody was going to do that for him. And he struggled. He was a good player, but right. he struggled at each level because he was good, but he wasn't great. He wasn't big. He wasn't super fast. He was just a good football. He was a damn good, gritty football
Yeah.
player. But sometimes, those favors are going to go away now.
Yes.
So,
the whole thing has changed. And you sent me a clip. It was what's his name? Basketball coach Calipari.
Calipari,
Coach
yeah.
Calipari talking about basketball recruiting, and he was saying how we're not recruiting any high school kids this year, and whoever was interviewing was shocked. And Calipari's like, no, we're only getting transfers. Well, that's football. He's like, oh, and he said you can't win with high school kids, which is a lie. I used to way back in the day cover basketball and do some basketball scouting and stuff like that. Basketball is not football, right? You get 4 or 5 good guys, and a little bit of depth, you can win with high school kids if they're elite caliber guys. College football is not like that anymore. They're looking for transfers first and then supplementing it with high school. And it's really making it way more difficult if you're a high school football player to reach that dream. And we're seeing it with all kinds of kids who are just dropping down and not getting the offers they should be getting.
Well, his logic in that clip too was, hey, I'm replacing 2 guys that were like, going to the pros or you go to the NBA, I would assume. I can't replace them with high school kids. I need to go now. And so I'm not going to win with those guys. And so it is interesting to hear that logic because, to me,
that's professional ball.
In his mind, he does not want to tarnish his legacy. He wants to win now. Yep. He doesn't want to build. He wants to do it the easiest way possible, which is go pay for the highest guy that matches what he just lost. And so
ready-made doesn't have to teach him.
But the danger in that is do you find people that actually fit the mold? And I think that's what the transfer portal era has taught us. Mm-hmm. Indiana did really well last year because they brought in a whole transfer team, but they were basically all program guys from Stignetti when he was at James Madison. So he brought guys in that were part of his program. So he instantly got culture. Whereas the vast majority of teams that are coming, and so now for him going forward, he's going to have a lot of guys that are coming over that are from other schools that might not carry his values. And so the danger is you have to then start to do what? You have to start to push and get yourself in a situation where everybody's on the same page,
right.
and the best teams win because everybody's, kind of pulling the same direction and the oars are all going the same direction. But I don't know, if that's possible in this day and age, unless you have a, 10 to 15, 20 man roster shift from one team to the other, because it's just the culture we live in. Everybody kind of wants to do it their own way.
Right.
And you have to be a master coach to get those guys to buy in because everybody has their eye at the next program over that they think they can get more money. I mean, so the joke was when we were in college, every kid that was in college football thought they were going to the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of our old coaches used to always say this. He had a guy he played with at Drake University, and he said every year the guy, for his last 2-3 years of college, he would, when the draft was on, he would basically hold himself a draft party because he was going to the league. He was just kind of preparing. And he was probably top 10 worst guys on our team. But in his mind, since he played college football, he had an opportunity to play in the league, right? And so everybody back in the day when we were young, you're playing college football, you have a legitimate shot in your mind that you have a shot that you're going to play. Well, the issue becomes, now everybody's not about playing in the league. It's about getting the best deal possible, right? Yes. And oh, by the way, I'm at FCS school A. I can go to FBS school B and I can make X number of dollars, right? I can go from, Missouri over to, a school in Missouri over to, or Illinois over to Iowa, and they're going to pay me $400,000, or they're going to pay me $600,000, and then as it works, that kid goes over to say Cincinnati, he gets $400,000 or $500,000. he then shows the trappings of what that looks like, right? And it's a new car, it's a new apartment, it's all those things that most people spend their entire life working to acquire.
Especially young guys today, yeah.
Right. And so, but you do it in one fell swoop, basically for doing the same activities that you were doing at a place that you were making no money at. So what does that breed? Everybody on that team's like, well, I'm just as good as him. I need to go over there.
Yep.
To another place that'll pay me. Well, the problem is there's not enough room.
Right.
For any
because it's a glut. Right.
Right. And so, I was talking to some of our younger coaches, in the office yesterday. We were kind of talking about it. And like if you get to play college football this day and age and you're in high school coming out, like you're lucky to go JUCO. You're lucky to go NAIA. You're lucky to go D2. You don't get settled to go play D3. Like, yes, they're maybe not the level you think you are, but so many guys are getting pushed to that level. It might be the level that you really are. And it may actually be, right?
Right.
And so I think, unfortunately, that I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them getting paid at the Power 4 level and all that. I think the issue is how it's being managed. And I think the world we live in with the social media and like, hey, I want that now, is if you're not self-disciplined, if you're not the kid that's coming in like Lance and working on his own when no one cares that what you're actually doing and you're doing it on your own, or you're going to the field and throwing with your guys on your own, those guys are starting to build some toughness mentally that they're self-reliant when it gets tough. And it's going to get tough for every single one of those guys that plays football, even no matter how good you are, right?
Right.
But if you concentrate on what's important and for you as a player in improving your body, improving your skills, improving everything about you as a player and as a human being, while other guys got their eyes on the prize of someone else, right? Someone else's prize, you're going to be able to eat their lunch because they are not truly doing what they are looking at the end goal. You are doing what? You're just trudging away, working and working. And eventually you're going to get your opportunity. And the opportunity is not just to play football. It's to get on the field and produce. That's what everybody loses the perspective, JP. They have to produce. If you don't produce this game, you're not for long. You're not for long in the NFL. You're not for long in college football, right? And I think that's the struggle. A lot of these kids are really focused on what other people have and what they get. And I think that's a little. It's hard. I understand where they're coming from. Believe me, I get it. But it's hard to understand when you haven't been there and seen the tragedies of just playing football when the money wasn't involved. Right?
Right. No, you're right. And if you don't start now, you're not even going to get that shot at playing college ball because it is becoming increasingly more difficult to be able to play college ball. So you're absolutely right. You better, be happy where you're able to go with who really wants you and is going to give you that opportunity. Because it's going to get less and less. It's going to get less and less, especially as more schools turn to the portal. Because that's what it seems to be, and that all starts, like we said, March 8th, right? Formerly Rams Park, Blue Fuse Athletic Center. You don't want to miss out. Which our last minute here. What do you got to tell anybody? Where can they go to find out more information?
Register at Elite Football Combine, elitefootballcombine.com. We will take registrations basically up until like middle of next week, and then we'll shut it down.
Combine training
is Tuesday nights tonight, 7 p.m. and then 12:30 on Saturdays. They're filming you. They get an understanding of what you need to work on. Going in and knowing what you need to do to accomplish the goals you want is half the battle, and being confident that you know what you're doing is half the battle. So you're not thinking about it. So yeah, that's on today, and then Saturday, and then we have skills training tomorrow night for the middle schoolers, for youth 6:40 to 8, and then high schools from 8 to 9:20. And then Sunday we'll have skills training, and then same thing. I mean, again, JP, how many kids were there this the first high school session past weekend? It was
packed.
packed.
Yeah. It was
100 plus kids showed up.
The vet coaches that were coming in, they were there for the first time. Were really impressed.
It's like, oh damn, there's a lot of dudes here.
Oh,
yeah, and God worked out
Good
that we got to take some kids outside because the weather got nice for us all of a sudden.
Yep.
And but yeah, that's the beauty of it. I mean, there's no reason why you can't be successful if you don't work at it. There's none.
Right.
You're your own worst enemy if you decide to sit back and wait, because I'm telling you, there's kids I think that are starting to get the picture that are working harder than ever, and I think those are the guys that are going to be highly successful.
The earlier you get the picture, the better, because you don't want to wait till okay, I'm going to be a senior this year, so now I'm going to start working. It's not your best interest. So you can go ahead and follow us. Joe had it up there a minute ago. There we go. You can follow me on X and Twitter, and Matt, you as well.
Yep. Elite Football on X and Elite Football Academy on Instagram.
Absolutely. Throw us a question, and as always, we enjoy ourselves. Throw us a question you have for the show, and everybody, we will talk with you.
Hey, let us know any guests you want us to have. I think we're going to start having a few guests on. I know some coaches are definitely wanting to get on, so and some players in the offseason would be pretty easy to do.
We had
our
Coach
guys.
Stuttgart on before Lindenwood camp. It'd be nice to have him back there. Here, I'm going to throw out the first suggestion.
There we go.
Let's
make it happen
again. All right. So everybody, enjoy the nice weather we got. Looks like this week. Some if you're doing 7-on-7 this weekend, it's borderline nice.
Borderline.
So everybody, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next week. See ya.